meetings, you just come in here and I'll have your information set up in your packet.
I saw it once I walked up here.
Yeah,
So,
okay,
appreciate that.
of course. Thank you. Oh, yeah, under the thing.
I walked in and I saw all these people. There's
Under
one
every-
judge, there's one judge. Right over here.
Yeah.
Right behind the chair.
Oh, the chair.
See the white, the
And I
white
know,
thing.
yeah, it'll alert like security.
Yeah, I walked in and I saw these people. I said, what is this? We had one agenda. Already
I think we have two.
everyone's getting postponed. So, you know, he already went to the BOCC. They kicked it back. The guy thought it was a big objection. But I had this going on. And now it is. I'm not sure we're paying a couple days just in case you need it.
Okay, well, I just wanted to let you guys know that I heard you were looking for me, so. And he needs a pen.
Did I miss the ornamentation?
Yes.
Sorry. Yes, here, you do need a good pen for note taking.
All right.
I'm a little biased on those pens. I think it's funny.
I wonder why.
They're working because you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, he needs a pen.
I went to the bank the other day with this lady. I'd never met her before in my life. She's working there. She's kind of sassy. Hey, you, come here. And I'm like, I need one of the pens.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I seriously thought like I did something bad, like maybe my paperwork got audited or something. Yes. Well, now you've been properly introduced.
Yes.
Oh, look. I can see my head. Is the screen on?
You want to move?
You want to move over one?
Yeah, you come over here. I'm going to move over
See.
there. I'm going to take Mills' sign and put it
You
down.
can see my big
Okay.
head
So
corner
Mills comes in telephone.
right there.
Okay.
Can you turn it off?
That way we're closer. Can't get the chair's attention. If Mel shows up, he's down here.
Yeah.
I'll wait till you sit down and then I'll turn the screen back on.
I just mentioned you can see my big old noggin right there on the corner.
It's fine.
Another chair for Mel. More than that, Albert. You have to push the button. Yeah, when it's green.
Morning. Morning, new commissioner. You met the other commissioners too? Okay.
You ready?
I'm surprised at the number of people that are here.
I'm not. Nope. So did you check with the applicant?
What's that?
He wants to go ahead?
It's all right. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you voted while you were here. See, I'm supposed
I've taken a bicycle. 2 months in, I bought a Trek for 3, so it's mad. The other one I have, trails. Trying to sell it.
What kind is it?
Trek. It's heavy. Yeah, I was almost tempted to. Just 'cause I like that.
first taste.
Carry my office with me, so everybody's in town. He's gonna but I'll ride for a little while. I get a lot of work done. I'll get back to the road. It's fun. It's an adventure.
Look at you looking all healthy. Good morning.
How are you?
Healthy.
Good to see
Oh,
you.
you voted. I said go in. Yeah. I know. I might. Tonight, so. Dave Faskins is leaving tonight's ride. You wanna go for 8 miles? I would do it, it's 6 miles each way from my house to my house. And it'd be an extra 12 miles on top of that. It's less. Yikes.
That Travis trail.
Sunday, I just went out and explored one of the trails and the trails. I'm walking, I was just coming out of the market, going back up to the other end. Good morning, I'm sorry I didn't see you. And the mayor's ride with me, boom, so we drive together, that was another 5 miles. So I did 20-something miles on Saturday. Let's go. You ready? Let's do it. Is there 4 us? Morning, Albert. Yeah. Oh, you know what? That's a good idea.
To make an announcement.
Yeah. I know you got the panic button, right? I've been on this board for 10 years and didn't know that was there. Yeah. I used to have this at university. So when I moved into my office, Good morning. Eileen, you want to do roll call? See if.
Commissioner Zargis,
Present.
Commissioner Castañeda. Commissioner Herrera. Commissioner Montañez.
Present.
Commissioner Lear. Commissioner Acosta. Chair Zerniak.
Here. So Mel's not in the air. Okay. Mel's at the doctor's or something.
He will always be with us.
Yeah. Just a few quick announcements. If you have a cell phone, please put it on
vibrate. And if you need to talk to somebody, step outside. It helps expedite the meeting. If you would like to speak in favor or in opposition to case 001, that's the special use permit from Manuel Cervantes, please see Eileen and sign up. The third thing is, if you have a moment after the meeting, it would be a wonderful idea to go vote next door. There's nobody there, by the way, so it won't take you long. And last but not least, I want to thank Mr. Arnie Castaneda, who's a brand-new commissioner. This is his first case. So do we have any can I have approval of the agenda, please? I don't think there's any changes.
Mr. Chair, can we confirm case number SD 21-005, was that to be postponed?
055.
Or
yeah.
055? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we're going to postpone that to a date certain.
Yes, Chair, Commissioner Montañez, the request is to postpone to the second meeting in June.
Okay,
So it'll be to date certain.
okay. So can I have with that change, thank you, Steve. Can I get a motion?
I'll move the agenda as presented with the postponement of case SD 21-055 to the second meeting in June.
And
Second.
that'll be June 23rd.
Okay. And we've got a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approval of minutes for the regular meeting of April 28th, 2022. Can I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve minutes of our regular meeting of April 28th, 2022.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. There's no old business, so this is new business. We're hearing this as a new case, yeah? SU 22-001, a special use permit. Albert, I think you have the floor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Our first case today, it's going to be a special use permit request from Mr. Manuel Cervantes.
Good morning. Can I swear you in, please?
Yes, you can.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Albert Casillas, 845 North Motel Boulevard.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Thanks. So this is a familiar case for most of you. The location is 205 Paloma Blanca Drive in Chaparral, New Mexico. The zoning is T2. So what are we here for today? It's a revised special use permit to operate a cannabis microbusiness producer establishment for the cultivation of cannabis with no retail sales involved. Here we have a location map. So basically that's the property right there highlighted in blue off of Paloma Blanca. And that's just an aerial. And this is the property right here, Paloma Blanca, and then you have McCombs on this side. The property is about 3.5 acres located in a T2 zone. The county assessor's office, it doesn't have any information regarding the buildings. However, when you look at the aerial photography, 1983 building's already there. There is a septic tank, and the water is provided by Lake Section Water. This property was created through a claim of exemption. So basically, it created a 3.5 acre parcel and a 1.5 acre parcel. The current owner bought it in August of last year, and Paloma Blanca is a county-maintained right-of-way. And this is just a close-up of the property. So this is the 3.5 acres. You have Paloma Blanca and existing structures. Here is a zoning map of the property and surrounding areas. So basically, everything in green is the T2, and then this darker green, that's T3 zoning. So back in February of this year, Mr. Cervantes had originally submitted the SUP application to operate the cannabis microbusiness. So it included both the cultivation of cannabis and a retail establishment. So he was proposing to cultivate up to 200 mature cannabis plants into Connex shipping containers. We had a meeting back in March of this year, March 24th, and the SUP was denied as requested action was not consistent with the health, safety, and general welfare for the residents of the county per the intent of the UDC. So that language is specifically in the P&D order. Also, Paloma Blanca Drive was concluded to be too narrow. No sidewalks, there's no street lights, and potential hazard as children walk to a nearby bus stop. So the area was mostly residential, not conducive to a retail establishment. So those were some of the findings back in March 24th. So Mr. Cervantes, he appealed the PNC decision, went to the BLCC to reconsider this body's decision to deny the SUP. A revised request to eliminate retail sales of cannabis from the original application was submitted along with the appeal. So the new request now was just to operate a cannabis microbusiness producer establishment solely for the cultivation of cannabis. When it went to the BLCC on April 26, they remanded this matter back to the Planning and Zoning Commission for reconsideration due to the revised request to eliminate the retail sales of cannabis. So because it wasn't the same application, because it was basically they were eliminating the retail sales, they thought that it would be best to send it back to the P&Z for a rehearing, based solely on now that the applicant's just proposing to only cultivate. So for the request today, out of the existing building, the applicant's going to be using the first floor for drying, trimming, packaging, curing, and storage. Second floor is going to be used mostly for office and storage. He's still planning on using the Connex containers to grow up to the 200 mature plants. Each container will have about 15 to 20 LED lights, and they're going to be watered through a hydroponic dripping system. The projected amount of employees to start with will be only 3 per day. Hours of operation will be Monday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Transportation of the product will be done on an average personal vehicle, and it's still going to be fenced and lighted, and there's going to be security requirements as requested by the state or required by the state. So overall site plan, pretty much nothing changed on. There's still the existing structure. There's still the Connex boxes that are still being proposed. Let's see here. The floor plan is pretty much this was changed just to show what's being proposed now. So basically, trimming, packaging, and storage. 17 letters of notification were mailed, pretty much similar to the first time this case came back in March. Signs were posted on the property. The email that I just handed out right now was submitted by Mr. James Wright. He brought this in right after he emailed it in right after the packet was published on the website. But I'll just go ahead and summarize it real quick. He's opposed to the SUP. He's listed 6 items of concern. Number 1, that his property is directly adjacent to Manuel Cervantes' property. There will be an increase in traffic, increase in drug-related clients, an increase in crime, an increase in attempted trespassing on his property, disturbance of the peace. That's the 6 items that he's listing on his letter. Next couple of slides are just some pictures of the property. Here's the existing building, and there's the notification sign right there up on the front. That's the area of notification. Here's another picture of the subject parcel. That's the existing property. Another picture. This is a pad on the back, on the, this is kind of behind the existing structure that's there, driveway. A view of Paloma Blanca Drive right here. This is right in front of the property. Some of the surrounding businesses, I believe that this was the old county fire station. It was a mechanic shop that is no longer there. I believe they ended up closing down. And then a little bit down the road, heading towards McCombs, you have Hardy Hole Drilling. And just a picture of some of the surrounding areas. There are some residential, mobile homes and site-built homes. When we look at the code for SUP requirements, we got to look at section 204. 502G kind of outlines the rules for cannabis establishments. And basically the decisional criteria, we have to look at those 7 items that are on the slide. Potential traffic flows, the need for new commercial or residential activity, infrastructure, any environmentally sensitive areas, and the impact to surrounding properties. And these are just some of the sections that are applicable to this request today. Basically, it talks that no cannabis establishment can be closer than 300 feet to any school or daycare center. There's some regulations for the growing of cannabis, and that the P&Z may apply conditions to any special use permit in order to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. And those are just some of the definitions for cannabis microbusiness, and cannabis microbusiness producer. And like I said before, we're here because the P&Z had originally reviewed this case for growing and for retail sales. It was denied. It was taken to the Board of County Commissioners, and now we're back here again to review the case without the retail sales component. So we're here because the land use matrix does allow for cannabis microbusiness producers by right if they meet a certain number of criteria. Basically, the property has to be assessed as ag, and without that ag assessment, then they have to apply for the special use permit. So any other property out there that's assessed as ag, they can grow by right. And this is just kind of like our cheat sheet right here. So a T2, cannabis microbusiness producer, you need to have that ag assessment. Without that ag assessment, then you need to have that special use permit. Other uses that are allowed in the T2 with the approval of a special use permit include a retail, recreation sports facility, a church, aquaculture, auction yards, commercial greenhouses or nurseries, poultry raising, commercial stables, and wine tasting rooms or wineries, and mechanic shops. So for now, when it comes to traffic, the applicant states that he's only going to have 3 people employed on site. They do have a designated exit gate to keep traffic organized, coming in and out of the premises. Traffic's going to be greatly reduced as no retail sales are being proposed at so access will be from Paloma Blanca, which is a county-maintained road. There's a mandate through the state, through the Cannabis Regulation Act, to promote economically disadvantaged communities and helping them get into the cannabis business. The applicant does have his permit approved already through the Cannabis Control Division. So here's a copy of that, and this is just for cannabis microbusiness. Lake section water will provide the water for the growing. So there is existing infrastructure in place to support the proposed use. There's no evidence right now of any endangered or rare species of animal and plant life in the area. The impact, so the applicant still has to meet all the state requirements when it comes to securing the property. He's going to have digital video surveillance. There's going to be lighting. There's going to be fencing requirements for the outdoor areas. Nearby surrounding non-residential uses include a Hardy Hole Drilling. There's a church as well. No retail is being proposed, so there's going to be a minimal impact to existing traffic. The applicant has stated that he will be implementing best management practices. So we believe that the SUP today meets the decisional criteria. On your packet, you're going to have our findings, but basically, the request does meet the decisional criteria of the SUP. The land use matrix requires the applicant to obtain a special use permit because he's not assessed as ag. The property itself, it's not within 300 feet of a school or daycare center. And since the cannabis producer only cultivates cannabis plants and transports unprocessed cannabis products to testing labs or other cannabis establishments, the traffic will be generated from this use will only be from employees at this location. They're going to be using their personal vehicles and not commercial trucks or semi-trucks. And also that the PMZ does have the ability to impose any conditions. So our recommendation today is to conditionally approve SU 22-001. The three conditions are that any existing structures and new construction proposed to be used will be required to meet all applicable construction, fire, and life safety codes. He is only limited to 200 mature plants in the 2 Connex boxes, and transportation and the shipping of cannabis products shall be by employees in their private non-commercial vehicles and shall be limited to the hours of 8 a.m. through 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. Those are our conditions for today for the conditional approval of this request. And that's the end of our presentation, and we stand for questions.
Questions for staff? So, Albert, does a micro business producer allow for wholesale sales on site?
Not on site.
Not on site. Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Albert. Mr. Cervantes? I'm going to swear you in.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Manuel Cervantes, 205 Paloma Blanca.
Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, good morning. As we just saw, this is basically my appeal to the original proposal, which was to not only have our micro business producer license operated there, but we were originally hoping that we could also have our retail establishment there. After the first public hearing, we realized how much concern we got from our neighbors and from the Chaparral community in general. So I got together along with my other 2 business partners, and we went over the options that we had from that point on. We definitely don't want to let the community voice go unheard, and we voted to move our retail location elsewhere, which is, still unfound. We were still in the process of looking for retail locations, as there's pretty much non-existent in Chaparral. So we're focusing right now on just setting up our indoor grow at the building you guys saw in the presentation. It's right around 2,500 square feet, 2-story building. And right now we're only needing to use the bottom floor. We're gonna have some Connex containers where we're gonna grow our plants, which was one of the best options that we had after speaking with the building and services department, right, for the elevated levels of humidity and everything that it takes to grow the cannabis plants. So basically, that's what we're proposing today, that we are allowed to run our micro business producer only there at our location. By state, we are only licensed to work with no more than 200 mature plants, okay? We are hoping that we can cycle this by 50 plants at a time while we get going and our production gets going on full steam. Like we mentioned earlier, there's not going to be a lot of people necessary to run this operation as it is, along with myself. possibly 2 to 4 more employees, between 8 and 8, which is as much traffic as we are going to get, which I believe was one of the main concerns from our neighbors, that the traffic was going to be increased and our infrastructure was not there yet. So our traffic is not going to be affected. I would like to assume that the traffic that is being brought to Paloma Blanca by other businesses already there, such as Hardy Drilling, is a lot more than that what we're going to produce. Our traffic will be by our employees and personal vehicles, traffic by some of our neighbors, and even Hardy Drilling is by 18-wheelers and bigger trucks, which, ours won't be more than that. We are also sticking to the requirements from both the county and the state when it comes to security, which is, I know, one of the bigger concerns of our community as well. The security, the outsiders coming in, the traffic it would cause to our customers and stuff. There's not going to be customers there anymore, which is one of the things that, I think it needs to be made clear today, that the traffic of people coming in and out is strictly by employees. No public will be allowed to come in and buy wholesale or, come into the property, period. Once our final product is ready to be delivered to our customer, which can only be a retail licensed customer by the state, then we have the opportunity to deliver to them. As a micro business, we are also given the opportunity to transport our product, which in general situations, you would have to apply for a very specific courier license with the state. So not anybody can transport that. Therefore, we are allowed to do that. And I would like to say that most other dispensaries, which are going to be our customers, our main customers, don't have that license. They're worried about just selling retail. Their providers can come deliver to them. Our product should be able to be transported in a personal vehicle. We're talking about anywhere between 12 to 25 pounds per harvest. A bag or a box of a pound won't be more than about 12 inches long by maybe 1 or 2 inches wide. So it's something that can perfectly fine and safe be transported in a trunk of a personal vehicle. So along with the security guidelines that we're going to take, like Albert mentioned, we're gonna have a fence. We're gonna have a fence that is covered with some type of mesh so that we can follow the guidelines, asking that 50% of visibility is blocked from the outside in, and that goes all around our building. On top of that, according to state guidelines, we are also having digital surveillance, digital cameras. We have an alarm system as well as a badge scanning entrance to every room of the building. So only employees, authorized employees with a badge as a picture ID can only badge themselves in. So nobody else would be allowed in our building or in any other rooms for that matter. On top of that, although it's not mandatory by the state or by the county, we are looking at setting up a physical security guard, if we may, outside of the building and just added security and added, relief for all of us, for us working inside the building as well as for the public and the neighbors and any other traffic driving by the establishment. Okay. So along with that, our main goal is to be able to start our business, to be able to start producing, which is going to be, in this case, my main source of income for my family, right? So this is always a business at the end of the day, which is going to support my family, and I understand that. But I also want to make sure that it's not just a business for myself, that it could also be a business that could benefit our community. As I had mentioned a couple months ago in our very first hearing, we are planning on helping out the community where we can. And one of the best ways we'll be able to do it is financially, right? Not only by raising sales taxes, but also by contributing with any sponsorships or anything we can do to help, right? If it comes to public lighting on our street, painting our street, I know there's projects of extending the gas lines in our community. Anything like that, we are willing to help out. Like I said, so that it's not only a benefit for us, but it's also a benefit for the community. I know that one of the concerns was also, the traffic of outsiders that might be brought in. Although there is not going to be existing anymore, our route, our own personal vehicles making deliveries would also stick to a specific route, which is our commercial corridor, if we may, through our street, Paloma Blanca, and through the main streets in and out, which would be McCombs, possibly Lisa on the north side, and maybe state line on the south side if we need to access US 54. So we are not going to be driving with our product, in between houses or around schools or anything. It's just going to be strictly in and out through those main streets, in and out of our location. So that is what we are proposing right now, that we are able to start our business considering only a micro business producer license.
Questions?
Mr. Cervantes, Mr. Chair?
Yep.
What would you say the distance from McCombs to Paloma Blanca is?
Oof, good
About
question.
anything.
I would say no more than maybe half a mile.
How's that in drive time?
3 to 5 minute drive, if that.
So tell me what a Conex structure is.
If you have ever seen a shipping boat, let's say China to LAX, it's full of those containers.
Okay, so it's a steel container.
It's a steel shipping container, yes, sir.
And is the pad that we saw, is that where you're going to put those?
No, this would be a lot closer to our building. For one, the sake of security and the sake of the irrigation. The water needs to be ran into those containers.
Okay.
So they would be placed right next to the building.
Okay, and given the level of opposition that we had at the last meeting, have you met with any community members to talk to them?
I have met with a couple of our neighbors and a couple of the Chaparral organizers and business owners, and it was a whole different ballgame once they were able to understand that there's not going to be any more retail location established there, which was obviously the main concern for a lot of people. There was a lot of other concerns when it comes to cannabis in general, which that's a separate topic that I might not be able to have a lot of input in. But I was able to clear up with some of my direct neighbors and business owners in the area that retail location is not going to be placed there anymore. As a matter of fact, there are 3 other retail establishments already being approved and almost opening their doors in Chaparral, which is one of them off of McCombs and 2 of them off of County Line. So the industry is already in Chaparral. With or without us, the industry is already there.
Those are retail establishments, the other 2?
That's correct, yes, sir. And that's just 3 of them that I know of off of social media and signage that's already posted at their location.
Okay. Anything else?
In your findings regarding the shipping containers, are you seeing those a little bit easier to keep secure than a greenhouse operation or just an open grow operation?
Most definitely. It's a lot sturdier, it's a lot more secure, and it keeps things separated, right, when it comes to the size of plants.
And with the with the shipping container, we also find that the HVAC requirements are met. I believe they were in the presentation as well.
Yes, sir. Basically, what the HVAC would cover is what is to be known as a mini split. That's pretty much what will do the trick when it comes to controlling the temperature. If necessary, there could also be a dehumidifier, depending on the temperature, the time of year, that could also control the level of humidity in there.
I'm more so, I think my question would be, I know that there's going to be a question about odor, and that's why I kind of wanted to ask if there were any kind of requirements met to.
Yes, sir. Most definitely, there are extraction systems strictly for the cannabis production that will be in place.
Thank you. Nothing further from me, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
So if you'd like Is there anyone here for the second case? I just want to check. Okay. So if you would like to speak in favor or in opposition to this case, make sure that you sign up with Eileen over here. We need your name on the record before you come to the podium, okay? So Eileen, you want to let us know who the first person is?
Tim Erling.
And Mr. Early, just so you know, I'm gonna, since there's so, how many people do we have? Let me just check.
Six.
Oh, okay, all right. Go ahead, swear him in.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Tim Erling, 496 Greenwood, Chaparral, New Mexico.
Do you affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Commission, I'm here today to speak in opposition to the special exemption being proposed to the zoning laws. I believe that the responsibility of the Planning and Zoning Commission is to protect our communities from harm. The potential harm from this business being in a neighborhood far outweighs any potential benefits to the county. Chaparral will not benefit from the tax revenues of this proposed business in a neighborhood, and it far outweighs will not benefit from the tax revenues and will suffer the negative consequences of this decision. Even though it's been stated this morning that traffic will not be increased, and I give it that it being not a retail establishment will not increase the traffic, but there will not be any sales tax revenue either, since there's not going to be any sales, correct? I believe that this sends a wrong message to the children of our community that the use of intoxicating substances is acceptable. The lack of law enforcement presence in Chaparral is a big concern to me. We're patrolled on this side by the Doñana County Sheriff's Department. The Otero County will respond in certain situations if available. But being we're on the outskirts of both counties, the law enforcement presence is limited there in Chaparral, and I believe that any increased incidence of crime, any increased incidence of other needs for law enforcement, as well as emergency services, is just lacking in our area. I mean, when we call the dog catcher, it takes sometimes 2-3 hours to get the county dog catcher out there. And, you know, most of the time I've seen the sheriff has been fairly responsive, but there's still a lack of law enforcement in this area. There are already growing operations just a few miles away in Otero County. Potential for increased crimes of opportunity within the neighborhood, as well as robbery of the business, is something that needs to be considered. There are many children that live in the area of this proposed business. Even though there is a daycare within 400 feet, the law says within 300 feet, but there is a daycare within 400 feet that's been there for years and years, right on the corner, near the bus stop. There's a school bus stop on the corner. There's also the mailboxes on that same corner. And the message and unintended consequences of this business will negatively affect Chaparral. And I believe it's the responsibility of this commission to protect our community. You're the only protection that we have in this matter. And the decision to put this business in will affect our community negatively, and I respectfully request that this permit be denied. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Kelly Erling. Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Kelly Erling,
496 Greenwood, Chaparral.
Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
You want to lower the microphone? Thank you.
Regulations or rules or laws are put in place to be enforced. If there are these regulations of not to be within 300 feet of a residential area or daycare or schools, then this request falls in those restrictions. If you allow this one in a neighborhood, then there are no restrictions. I'm against this because if we have a place in a neighborhood where there's kids that has need of having security to protect it, that doesn't sound appealing to me. And I just ask that you consider, if it's not right or wise, would you want it next door to you or down the street from you? I don't think you would. And there's plenty of people here today that are saying the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Edgar Aguilar. Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Edgar Aguilar, 400 Byram Road, Chaparral, New Mexico.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I appreciate your time, and it's nice to see you all again. The last time we showed up, I had 169 signatures. As of today, we have over 230 signatures. And I just wanted to let you guys know how hard it is to get so many signatures when most people live on such big plots of land, you know? So we might have 10 neighbors, 7 neighbors on one street. So to get 230 signatures it's quite a feat because we don't live in a normal neighborhood, but we still live in a neighborhood. So I wanted to present those today. Most of the people can't be here because Chaparral is a working community. I have asked that we could, make this maybe 7 o'clock in the evening, which I understand is difficult or, not feasible at all. But I want to let you know that most people, they want to be here, but they can't because everybody works. So we would have filled more, but it's difficult. But anyways, I have those signatures. I wanted to start off, and a lot of people, Mr. and Mrs. Erling hit on it, is that we live in a community with children. I moved there 3 years ago. I moved there specifically because I wanted to raise my children in a community, in a neighborhood. They put up, like Mr. Cervantes was saying, they put up other establishments, but in commercial corridors, and I wasn't here for that because I feel I'm not against marijuana. I'm against it being in our neighborhoods, that's what I'm against, because neighborhoods are for children and family, not commercial grow operations. Mr. Cervantes also, the last time he was here, that he was asked, why did you buy there? And the reason he bought there is because he bought a house. He didn't buy a commercial building like everybody else is paying 2 to 3 times what he paid for in a commercial area, because commercial properties go for a substantially amount more. He bought a house that he turned into a building, or is turning into a building, and now is suggesting us to live next to it. That's a home. When he first moved in there, it was a home. And when we moved in there, we moved into homes. So because it was cheaper for him, he decides to put the burden on us to live next to his, marijuana factory, whatever it's going to be, and the thing about it is, as soon as you let him in the door, right now he has 200 plants. If the state later on approves him to get more, he's got 4 acres to do whatever he wants with. And that's maybe the traffic now is 3 people, which I think is very low because those plants, 200 plants, need constant maintenance. If something goes out, he's not going to be working from 8 to 8. They need constant maintenance because if not, his product goes down. You know what I mean? So the thing, and once the state approves him for more, which they've tried before and failed, but we're a marijuana state now. So once they approve him for more, that's why he doesn't have half an acre. He has 4 acres that he can fill with as many as he wants because his foot's in the door. And like Mrs. Erling stated also,
What happens to all the other vacant properties in our neighborhood? This is a neighborhood again. What happens to those once you let him? There's a vacant property right next to him. You know, are they allowed to grow now because they got their foot, he got his foot in the door? What about the one across the street? You know, or if people decide to sell, our neighborhood, what it's going to be turned into is you're turning our neighborhood into a commercial corridor for the grow or whatever they want to do with marijuana. And I don't think it's fair, because if you see the children here in the crowd today, these children, you know, should be in school or doing something else, but they're here because the ones that get most affected is them. That's the people that are getting affected. The kids walking down the street from the bus stop, the kids riding their bike to their friend's house. You know what I mean? If you see some of these places, we went to Otero and saw a building. It's a fence. He is right. There's requirements. There's a fence. There's barbed wire all over it. There's huge buildings, and the stench is unimaginable. And people live next to this. There's houses next to this. There's not a Walmart next to it. If there was a Walmart, okay, he's in a commercial area. If there's, you know, the one next to Stars, commercial area, it is what it is. He bought a house in a neighborhood and is turning it into a commercially zoned area. And the rest of the residents here, some who have lived here for 60 years, I don't think it's fair for one man's gain it outweighs our right to live. He goes back to El Paso. He says his address is 205. It's not. He goes back to El Paso, lives in his nice neighborhood, doesn't have to deal with this. It'd be different if he moved his family there maybe, and he had to live with the same stuff that he's forcing us to live with. I have 230 signatures here, walking door to door, of everybody in the neighborhood that's against this. And I beg you, I petition, I plead with you, please hear the 230 voices versus of the community, the 230 voices of the people that are against this, because all we want to do is live in peace. That's it. We want to live a peaceful life where our kids can ride down the street versus one man and his profit. So pick the neighborhood and the families over the money. I appreciate your time and your consideration, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do you want these over?
Mr. Chair,
Steve?
just one question for staff. Can you just confirm the distance requirements from one operation to the other? I believe it's a 300 foot
300
requirement.
feet, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I have Aiden and Anthony Aguilar who wish to come together.
Okay.
Just so he keeps the originals.
So you got to raise your hand, okay? Raise your hand right here. We're going to talk to you. Come here.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Tell her your name.
Aiden Aguilar, Anthony Aguilar,
400 Byram,
400 Byram,
Saffron, New Mexico.
Mexico.
Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
So they and I apologize. They've been with me at every meeting, and I try to show them it's important that their voice counts too. And they might be little, but you know they're here, they're nervous, and they're trying their best. So you can say what you came to say, Papa.
Pull that microphone down for him, okay? Good morning, guys.
Say good morning.
Morning.
Remember what we? It's okay. Just 1 minute.
I would like to walk home safely from the bus stop. And I would like to live in a safe neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jem. I appreciate your time. Thank you. Good job, guys. Thank you.
Nanette Reyes.
Good morning.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Nanette Reyes, 403 Byram.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
First off, I want to thank you for allowing us to present this to you. I did talk to you the first time, and when I presented to you the first time, I presented a letter to you about my mom, who is 84 years old, cannot be here, but she has lived in, she brought us out to Chaparral since 1975. So we've been out to Chaparral for a long time. She didn't buy the neighborhood, she didn't buy our home so that we can be around a lot of businesses or any particular illegal things going on. She brought us out there so that she can raise us in a good neighborhood, trying to protect us, and which is what we all want. We all have rights, and that's one of the things that seems to be a problem, is everybody keeps telling us, Mr. Cervantes has a right. He has the right to apply for it, and he has a right. But just because it's a right doesn't mean it's right. I have a right to object to it, okay, and that's my right. But here's the problem. The problem that's been going on in this world today is who has a right and who has the responsibility. And that's going to be the choice that you guys are going to have to make. We have rights to ask for our neighborhood to be safe. And that is the reason why we are here, because we have the right. Mr. Cervantes has the right to come up here and present his business. And he's the one that's telling you that he's going to provide for Chaparral and everything. He hasn't been out there. He doesn't know Chaparral. He may have talked to a couple of neighbors, but it's only because he's run into them at their mailboxes or something. But it's not that they approve of it. It's just because he's talked to them. I have a right to come up here and ask you to listen to what we have to say. But you have the responsibility to protect us. Like Mr. Early said, we don't have the protection like Las Cruces does. I mean, when we first started this out, cannabis hadn't even started yet. It was just the beginnings of it. Nobody knew what was going to happen with it. Now it's here. Now it's in Las Cruces. And I don't know how you guys feel about it, but, you know, I'm sure the law enforcement has been overwhelmed with crime. Since this has happened, I have learned a lot. And let me tell you what I've learned. It's, for one, Diana County has taken control. I guess you would say control. At least the responsibility to try to protect us. Between Otero and Diana County, you guys have at least taken the initiative to try to protect us. That I thank you for. Otero has no rules, no laws, whatever. They don't. That's what we've learned. We've talked to the sheriff of Otero and we've talked to the sheriff of Diana. And out of both of them had said, there's nothing they can do. The only thing that they can do is if somebody commits a criminal action. That's it. Other than that, it's, and it has to be something bad before they can actually intervene. That's what they told us. Both of them have told us. So do we have to wait for something to happen, bringing extra crime into our community before we can get a hold of the sheriff's department? Other than that, it's civil. That's what they told us. Oh, well, that's your problem. That's what they told us. So we are asking you to be responsible to protect us. That's what we're asking for. And one other thing that I would like to bring up is Mr. Steve Montez. You went to the county commissioners meeting and you presented to present for this board. And we have been watching your actions since this has gone on. And to us, you have already made your mind up. And your response is, to me, kind of rude. And I feel that you should recuse yourself from the vote, because what you said at the meeting, first of all, we did ask for No retail and no growing. And it's in the documents. We have 230 signatures. We're doing our part, our right, our responsibility to take care of our neighborhood. And so that's what I'm here for, is think about who has the rights and who has the responsibility, because I would hate for something to happen to our neighborhood, our kids, our homes, and then who's going to be the ones to stand up? Which one of you are going to stand up and say, it was my responsibility? So that I ask, please take the responsibility and say no. Mr. Cervantes does not live there. He does not know that neighborhood. It's for his benefit, not ours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dana Cortinas. Please state your name and address for the record.
Dana Cortinas, 209 Paloma Blanca, Chaparral, New Mexico.
And do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I am so nervous, I want to say right away.
Take your time.
I really didn't want to talk. That is the truth. Everybody won't believe that, but I really didn't. We live right next door. I had some pictures, a lot of pictures. They're not being allowed. I wished I could show you my phone. I would show you the pictures that we've taken. Because as I know Mr. Casillas, the pictures he showed, although not intentionally, are deceptive. It just shows kind of like a barren land. It's not. Our house, my fence, I'm constantly picking up trash from the dumpster because, you know, the wind's in Chaparral. His trash is on my fence all the time. So I'm constantly, once a week at least, go pick up trash from his property, on my fence, my property.
Cervantes.
Mr. Cervantes said that he spoke to the direct neighbors, a few of the direct neighbors. I don't know who he spoke to because these are the direct neighbors. We are the direct neighbors. You have neighbors across the street, everyone here who he does not speak to. I know for a fact because I'm one of those neighbors. My husband's family, our family has been out there over 50 years. 50 years, that's a long time. It's a lot of changes. Chaparral's a unique place. You all know that. Bad places in Chaparral, just like everywhere. Our neighborhood is safe. Our neighborhood is a good neighborhood of good people. We've heard there is retail businesses in Chaparral already, next door to Steyer's. Fine, that's where they belong. I only know of one other growing place, as was mentioned before, in Chaparral, and that's in Otero County. And I realize that they're not as strict, but they have to have the same fence that he's talking about. I have pictures of that place, and it's horrendous. It looks like a prison. There is, what is that, the barbed wire on top of it, the mesh wire around it, razor wire, that's on top of it, security, you know, we have security. This is in a neighborhood. Now, in the neighborhood it is, I feel bad for them because a lot of people in Chaparral feel like they have no voice. I would bet money that those neighbors had no idea what was going on next to them because a lot of people, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, are there illegally and they just want to be left alone, like all of us. But they didn't have a voice. And I don't think that they enjoy having that place next to them. Well, we have a say. We understand that. And I have nothing against Mr. Cervantes. And I understand he wants to provide for his family. I don't know what he did before marijuana became legal in New Mexico because we've all been providing for our families. But in our neighborhood, we don't want it to look like that one up there. And it will. It will. There's no way around it. They started off with a building, now they have 3 more buildings. And like I said, I have the pictures if you'd like to see them. And I have pictures of our neighborhood where our houses are correctly portrayed. Next door, across the street from Mr. Cervantes, or the Longs are right across the street. We're right next door. Our kids do walk down past the street. Now he's saying that he has to have a security guard. Why? To protect his business, not to protect the people who might cross my property to break in, not knowing that his house is so, or his business is so protected. My house isn't. I don't have a security guard around my house. And none of us will be able to, but he will. He'll be protected, but the neighborhood won't. You see where we're kind of upset about that? We know marijuana is here to stay. But I've said it before, I don't want a bar next door to me. I don't want a junkyard next to me. I don't want a lot of things, and I don't want this in our neighborhood. And I am pleading with you. I mean, we have kids, grandkids next door, and I don't think you would want it in your neighbor. I don't think you'd want it next door to you, just growing. I don't think you would want that. I hope. But that's all I have to say, and thank you very much.
Ms. Martinez,
Yes.
how far is your home from Mr. Cervantes' house?
Okay, we lived next door. Now, I'll say the lady who sold Mr. Cervantes his place split it. She took an acre and gave it to somebody else, or sold it to somebody else. That man also signed the petition. He was going to move in. He's been seeing, we've talked to him. He's seen he's not even there anymore. He just doesn't go and fix up his place. We don't know if he's not interested in putting his family there now because of what is right there, but it's the same property at one time. We were right next door. The people who built that property, oh, I'm sorry. The people who had the house built, the original family is long gone. They were the Kings. They built the house. And the house, the building that he's portraying, at one time, it was a trailer, a mobile home, and Mr. King built onto it, added onto it. That's the building you see now. The Cervantes, when Mr. Cervantes bought it, they would have bonfires every night, I guess, that they were working. They completely and totally took the trailer completely apart and burnt it in a bonfire every night. I don't know if that was legal or not. I don't know. But that's how it now looks, just like a building. It was a house. It's a house. And it was a house, and now it's a building.
Let me go back to my question.
Right, we're at, okay, I'm very bad at this. We're right next door where the square is, right there. We are right over here. That's our house.
Okay.
We are in the 300 zone, our house, our barn, everything.
Okay.
I mean, we are completely in that circle. So, thank you again
Thank
very
you.
much.
Sheila Sarmento. Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sheila Sarmiento, 200 Paloma Blanca, Chaparral, New Mexico.
Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hi, how are you guys? I am here because I try to stay neutral. I'm tired of the misinformation and the blatant lies. I guess I'm a direct neighbor. I'm to the left of the picture at that corner. I have pecan trees. We've only been there since 2017, but the house that was there, granted, no, that way. Yeah, up. That one, that's us. The one, I don't know, anyway, I'm getting off track. I don't know how to advance this thing, but granted, yeah, the house was a mess. The people that lived there beforehand, I think they were trying to do good by cleaning up the area, by giving work to the people that were, I consider lowlifes, because they would walk around and they would just do odd jobs. So the person that was there when we moved in, she was trying to give them work so they would stay off the street and they would have legal money or whatever. But when some sort of health something happened to them that they're not there, that's why they're there. But they cleaned up the house. It really did look bad. So, oh, I can't see it in here. Anyway, it did have the main gray house that's there now that he's fixed up, but it also had an addition that they've taken down. That thing was falling apart. And granted, that thing was falling apart and just looked horrible. You could see people walking up and down the street all the time. There was one person, he would always be singing. He would always keep to himself, but he was one of those lowlifes. And they used to live on Byram, that catty corner on that street over there. They're no longer there. He's cleaned up the property. They're all gone. There's been no riffraff down the street. The fence, oh yeah. I do go out and I socialize with my neighbors. I wave at them. They don't wave back. I've brought someone's dog back to her. I don't know if she remembers. The fence is still there. There's no razor wire on the wire. There's a fence that's around the property itself on top of her fence. But the fence that's there was the one that those people tried building before. The wind has knocked it over. It's like a wall of some sort. It's falling over. It's just leaning over. It's hanging by the wind. The traffic that goes up and down the street is more of the traffic of the kids that have now grown up. They have their sports cars. They speed up and down the street all day long, all night long, because they just rev up their engines, because now Byram is now a paved road. So they speed up and down that street. They go up and down Paloma because our street doesn't have speed bumps yet, neither does Byram. I'd like to put speed bumps on there. Sheriff go up and down the street all the time. By the way, we're always home. There's been no one come to our house. The gate is unfortunately always open. I don't like the gate being open. They have not asked for our signatures. Paloma going east is about 3/4 mile because I've measured it. I wanted to walk. I still haven't started walking yet because I don't like the heat. To that way to the west is about 1/4 mile, and that butts up to the right property, which is Pecans, and it's all fenced off. It's a street over. Oh, and Chaparral is much like 70, the old US 70 over here where everything's all spread out. Let's see. Oh yeah, nobody walks up and down their streets. The corner houses where the bus stop is at, I see cars there. I leave for work in the morning. They're all there in their cars because it's either hot or too cold. Not very many people except for this direct neighbor that's in front of the Cervantes. She's the only one that walks up to her house to get her grandkid because that's where the bus stop is. And she's too young to walk, but she's the only one I've seen walk up and down the street. And nobody has ridden their bikes in about a year up and down the street. So we're home all the time. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks. Oh, and I'm in support of this because I believe in free enterprise.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Brenda Velasquez. Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Brenda Velasquez, 212 Paloma Blanca, Chaparral, New Mexico, 88081.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. First of all, I want to thank you for your time. I am here today representing my Chaparral community regarding the special use permit to operate a cannabis microbusiness producer establishment on 205 Paloma Blanca. As you're aware, you initially denied the permit. Mr. Cervantes did not respect your decision and went to the county commissioners instead to override your decision. Once again, I ask for your support to deny it. There are many problems, not issues, that this establishment will bring to our colonia. Not only that, but it will be a residential driveway, family neighborhood, and right next to our bus stop. But also the National Institutes of Health. Research I presented to you before, within 3 minutes, if you recall. It was pretty long. Chaparral is unincorporated and lacks community resources. As you can see, we do not have any representation. Chaparral is not equipped with the necessary mental health and domestic violence services this addiction will bring to our community residents. I just even learned from Mr. Cervantes himself that there are other 3 marijuana businesses that are located in Chaparral. This will even make it worse. Our law enforcement is limited to address crime, and our educational system at Gadsden ISD has a low retention rate. And one of the reasons is because of youth marijuana addiction. Keep in mind that less than 50% of our residents have a high school diploma, and this will contribute more to that. During the county commissioners meeting, they mentioned earlier that the county supports our children and even passed a proclamation for El Día de los Niños. As a parent, like most of you are, I ask you to please support our request due to the dangers this will cause to our youth and, most importantly, families, low-income families, my neighborhood, and my children. As your duty entails, please be our voice and please hear us out. There are 230 signatures previously collected from residents who are against the establishment as well and who could not be here today. This is our third meeting, and I've been to all of them. Many residents oppose this, and I'm here today to represent all of them. We have faith in you, and I hope you make the right decision. I just want to mention that today is the last day of Gadsden Independent School District, and they're going to be having a summer program. This is an engineering STEM program that they're offering. It's from 8:30 to 2:30. They're providing transportation, and I'm even thinking about not having my daughter, who is in middle school, actually participate and have this opportunity to experience because she will need to take the bus. And because of this establishment, if it does get approved, she will not be able to join because I fear that she's going to have to walk at 8:30 to go take the bus while I go into work. I work at UTEP, and I have to be there at UTEP at 8. She's going to have to work, has to walk to the bus stop, and it's going to be impossible because I fear that something might happen to her with all this that's going on, with all the issues, the problems, the addictions. I just fear that, and I just don't want to live like that. I still have a 6-year-old as well at home, and I just fear that this is going to get worse. With 3 establishments, it's been very quick that this marijuana business is actually taking over our colonia. It's not a city. We're unincorporated. We're not represented. And when we are not supported. So I hope you help us make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Samantha DeFloro. Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Samantha DeFloro, 200 Paloma Blanca, Chaparral, New Mexico.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning, afternoon. I would just like to start by saying that I am in favor of this. I respect everybody's.
Pull the microphone down.
Oh, there.
Thank you.
I respect everybody's opinions about the safety of the children and all, but I'm sorry I didn't catch her name, but the lady that just spoke before me, her children's bus stop would probably be the one on Paloma and Chaparral Drive, and then the other bus stop, which is the other concern to the other parents, would be a little bit further down Paloma on this side of Byram, so closer to the Greenwood section. So it's not even as close to the vicinity of 205. Sorry, I'm super nervous. Aside from that, I would personally like to thank you for cleaning up that property, because I personally have seen the meth heads that would walk up and down the street all days, all hours of the days, half clothed, walking around like this in the middle of the day. We haven't seen that since he started working on the property. There used to be a guy that would sit on the top or in the second story of that building, right at the window, and just watch people. And he could see directly into the Long's property, into our property.
the lot right next to my house, which is 200, it's the empty lot on Byram and Paloma. There used to be a guy there who would sit there and scream random things. He would throw stuff. And there was another property on Byram itself, which was just another camper with another guy that would be doing just random stuff. And, you know, it made me nervous. I didn't even want my dogs to be out there. But since this man has fixed up that property, we don't see any of those guys. We don't hear any of them. And I personally feel much better that he has done this to that property, because I've seen multiple guys go in there and destroy this lady's house, destroy the property. You could hear them arguing, but not even forming sentences. So, yeah. I am in favor. I would like to know where this guy got all his signatures from, because I do have family on this block, our block of Paloma, the next block, and the next block, and none of us have been asked about those signatures, and none of my friends' families have been asked. So I'm wondering where those signatures came from. I would just, you know, I am part of the community too, so I would have liked to have been asked, especially given that we're right across from the property. Or not? Or not? Okay.
No, you cannot. No, sir.
Thank you.
Patricia Long.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
Patricia Long, 204 Paloma Blanca, Chaparral, New Mexico.
Please raise your right hand. Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I live at 204 Paloma, which is directly across the street. So just the distance of the width of the road is where I live. And I hadn't planned on speaking today, but there were a couple things that I wanted to address that I have heard. And with all due respect to my neighbors at 202, which is next door to me, and I'm the one they were speaking of that walks to the bus stop. Well, it's not my granddaughter. I don't have grandchildren yet. My niece, I would go pick her up. So yes, people do walk up and down the street. Kids do ride their bikes up and down the street. I happen to know that the distance from 204 and 205, since he's directly across from me, to McCombs, is exactly half a mile, because I walk half mile down and half mile back for exercise. So I want to put that up there. I'm one of the neighbors that has spoken with Mr. Cervantes, and he's answered a lot of questions for me that I had, and I think we have an okay relationship. But one thing that he didn't tell me is about a security guard. And I'm sorry, I'm very nervous. And I'm kind of concerned about that. Is this guard going to be armed? I live directly across the street. If there's some situation, you know, am I going to be in danger? Is my family going to be in danger by that? So I'm just kind of concerned about that. We have, like I said, talked a couple times, and he never mentioned that.
We'll ask him.
Yeah, so I really am, I wasn't even going to speak till I heard that. And also I want to say that Montanez, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, you did speak pretty much on behalf of the commission at the county commissioners meeting, saying that you all would vote, implying that you all would vote for just the grow. And I'm not sure that that is something that you should have done, and maybe something that you should think about before deciding to participate in this vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
One question, Ms. Long. So regarding the security, you're concerned with a security guard being on site?
I am concerned. Is that guard going to be armed?
Mm-hmm.
Is there going to be a shootout if somebody, you know, tries to rob Mr. Cervantes? I'm directly across the street. So are there bullets going to be flying around?
So would you prefer there not to be a security guard present?
I just want to know the answer to my question, and then I'll have to decide from there.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Eileen?
I have one last name, Octavio Aguirre.
Morning.
Good morning. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Octavio Aguirre, 117 Paloma Blanca Drive.
Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law? Thank you.
Morning. Just like everybody else, I'm kind of nervous. Okay. I spoke to Mr. Cervantes, and my God bless him and his family. They clean up the place. It's awesome. It's awesome. Me and my wife would drive through there every day, cleaning up the place. Beautiful, beautiful. What was posted there, I thought it was a permit. No one told me, like I mentioned to him, no one called me, no one sent me a letter, nothing, that was going to be a cannabis place. Now, when this was voted, it's to be legalized marijuana, I came from Arizona. I got to tell you something. That's why I left Arizona. I'm running away from that. Daughter lives in Colorado, same thing, it's a mess. It's a mess, okay? Someone had told me, this is happening down the street. Oh my God, I want to move here. But the little oasis, to me it's an oasis, it's a haven. My neighborhood, my community, chaparral, I love it. Me and the wife love it. And then this happening, whoa. We drive through there every day. Back to the security. He's going to protect his property, his business. I understand that. Okay. Regarding to that, the stench. Oh my God, it stinks. It stinks. He's not going to sell there, but he has to sell somewhere. Again, why did he come there? Because it was convenient for him, like we're all there. It's convenient for us. These folks are raising families, kids. I got grandkids. They're waiting to come down here for the summer because what I wasn't able to have in Arizona, I'm having it here, and they're going to enjoy it. But with this business down the street, I am sorry. Like I said, I feel for him. I'm not against the marijuana. Like my wife tells me, your aches and pains later on, yeah, when I'll come to it, I'm going to rub it on. I'm not going to smoke it. I'm not going to smell it. We don't know. Again, he's in right to provide for his family, but why here in my neighborhood? Otero, they know of 9 places or more. They're coming up because like he said, it's here and it's going to stay, but not in our neighborhoods. We have 2 places, his and the one on McCombs. Let that be there. But over here in our neighborhoods, and again, he's not going to live there, right? Come on, do what's right. You know, again, I feel for him. May God bless him and his family. But what about us? What about you? That's all I got to say. So it's up to you folks. Oh, before I forget, speaking to Sheriff Black on the Otero side, Sheriff Kim on the Doniana side, as of April the 1st, when everything became whoopee, it's all buy marijuana because it's legal, the 911 calls have increased. That should tell you something. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Is that everybody?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cervantes, do you want to respond?
Thank you, Chair. Commissioners. I guess to address some of the concerns that were just brought up as far as the security guard, my intention was never to instill more, threats or fear by proposing a security guard. It was the complete opposite. I thought that having a security guard there would kind of help them feel a little more safe because there wouldn't be somebody trying to come in, trying to break in, trying to take our product and maybe, do illegal stuff with it. So that was my intention in considering the extra security guard, which is, like I mentioned earlier, not even requested by the state or the county. It was just as an additional measure of safety for everyone. So I didn't mean to, intimidate anyone else or make them feel worse that there would be more security. That was not my intention. As far as speaking with the neighbors, like one of the gentlemen mentioned earlier, Chaparral is a working community. Chaparral is also full of business owners. A lot of them can't afford to close their business to come down here. A lot of them can't afford to ask for the day off and come down here. And that's why I haven't been able to show as much support as the opposing community. But I have spoken to them. The fact that some of my neighbors don't know about it doesn't mean it didn't happen, correct? And like some of the neighbors here mentioned, unfortunately, not everyone was asked to sign or not. So I think it is a good point also that they bring up on the signatures. But nevertheless, I just wanted to make that clear. The security guard situation wasn't with any negative intention, but the complete opposite.
So Ms. Long asked the question, will the security guard be armed?
Not that I have thought about yet. I don't think it's necessary. I don't believe so. And like I said, it will also be an added expense to my business. But I was willing to, put that out there as an added measure. But for what I have considered along with my business partners, it wouldn't be armed. It would actually be a little bit harder and a little bit more expensive for us. So,
And will the couriers be armed?
no, sir. It actually is not allowed as of right now.
Were the hours of your security hours, were they overnight?
No, not that I've considered.
What would have been the hours of operation for
during
security?
business of operation? The hours of operation, 8 to 8.
Okay.
So I can't remember if it was Mr. Reyes or the Earlys. Someone mentioned the question about sales tax. Mr. Early, I think, said it.
Yes.
That there wouldn't be any sales tax generated by your business. Is that true?
I guess it's a technicality. There is an excise tax, I believe it's called, that we have to pay. And as a matter of fact, that is monthly on top of the sales tax that the retail locations would have to pay. So we do have to pay taxes. We're not exempt from taxes.
Okay.
And that's actually a whole lot higher than regular taxes, and it will increase within the first 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, from 13% to an 18%, somewhere around there. So it's a lot higher than usual.
And I think you mentioned that there would be landscaping around the Conex.
Yes, sir. Actually, the landscaping is all around the whole property.
The whole property.
As showed, I don't know if it was in this presentation or Mr. Casillas' previous presentation, we are required to fence in all around the property that will be used, along with some type of mesh or landscaping for that matter, that would cut down visibility from the outside in to 50%. So it's your normal, regular chain link fence with that type of mesh around it. The commercial version of it, it's 6 foot tall, and then that's it. There's really no request or requirement for the barbed wire. It's completely optional as far as I am concerned. So it is your regular fencing that most people would see or have in their property. So I think that is also a benefit not only to myself but to other properties.
Any other questions? Commissioner Castaneda, did you have anything?
I have a question for staff.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Cervantes. Hold on just a second.
Mr. Castaneda, can you turn your microphone on?
There we go. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
I do have a question for staff.
Let's have, okay.
On the presentation, you said that they are allowed 200 plants. Who, if this would to be approved, who would police that?
Typically, that falls on the state to regulate that, and that's part of his permitting process with them as well. I believe there were concerns about him expanding the business. So even if he was to request an increase in the number of plants, he would have to reapply all over again, because now it's not a micro business. Now he would fall under a regular producer, therefore triggering another special use permit. So any expansion would require a new hearing.
So he would have to go to the state and then come back to us for.
That's correct.
All right. Good.
Thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome. Bill? Steve, anything? Okay, it's all right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A few things that I'd like to address. First and foremost, I feel like I must address the commission regarding my comments at the planning and zoning, or excuse me, at the BOCC meeting. I want to state first and foremost, and I made this clear when I addressed the commission, that I was not speaking in any way on behalf of this commission. And I know that meeting is recorded and was also quoted in the local newspaper. The reason for my presence at that meeting was that was also our agenda item to be reinstated, for another 2 years. I did not speak during an appeal because an appeal case was never heard. The reason I addressed the commission, and staff can, was also present, is there was quite a bit of confusion on Mr. Cervantes and his approach to the appeal. In his appeal, he wanted the commission to just approve growing and cultivation without retail. And I personally believe Mr. Cervantes, with respect to the time and that has been put into this, he really wanted to try and go through the commission instead of having to come back to us, because that would have that's a longer process for him. I addressed the commission to clarify, because there were a lot of back and forth questions between the commissioners, and what I explained to the commission was, had Mr. Cervantes made an adjustment, any kind of adjustment to his special use permit case to us, to only grow and cultivate and not operate a retail establishment, that would have been taken into consideration by the commission. I did not state that it would have been approved, or any commissioner would have favored or opposed that. This is, again, on record and recorded. I also want to say, even before the commission decided to send the case back to the Planning and Zoning Commission, that there were already staff recommendations for approval on their own conditions alone. I have not been to a BOCC meeting in a year, and it was at the exact same time that I was instated into this commission to begin with. I do not feel that I did anything wrong. I do not feel that that my actions were any overstep in any way speaking for this commission. And had that went to an appeal, of course, I would not have spoken. In fact, for the second appeal, I left. So I want to make that clear, just because it was addressed, that, again, I did not speak in any way in favor of the commission, nor did I speak in any in favor of Mr. Cervantes, or was my mind made up in any sense. And I'll state further that I had not met or laid eyes on Mr. Cervantes until this last case was presented, nor have I spoken to him. I politely said hello to him before this meeting started. I do have full respect for his, for him respectfully going through this procedure and everything that he's had to go through, regarding this case. And I do understand how, kind of in the business that I'm in, what somebody has to go through to get their project started and finished. And with full respect to Mr. Cervantes, he's been very respectful to us. He's been very respectful with staff, as far as what I've seen. So I'm not going to address that any further. I do understand there's been quite a few concerns. We will state that we did deny this special use permit, for retail, and I also voted against that special use permit. There's been concerns regarding El Paso residents that the applicant does not live in Chaparral. And I stated in the last meeting that we do have quite a few Texas residents who choose to do business and, bring jobs and bring economic development into our county, and I always commend them for that. Concerns regarding the security guard. I'm a little confused by this one. I personally would love to have security guard right next door to me for whatever reason. Although they may not be able to curb criminal activity, they definitely have the ability to contact law enforcement, or sometimes even having a security vehicle being able to deter any potential criminal activity, whether they're armed or not. So this argument or this concern about having a security guard there is somehow going to make things worse, I just have a really hard time agreeing with. This has been a really unique situation because of the commercial corridor options. Now, we did just approve a retail establishment, and I asked Mr. Cervantes about a 3-minute drive from a retail establishment that this is being proposed. We're talking about growing and cultivating with security and with very secure shipping containers, as far as what we've learned. We understand the concerns brought forth by the residents of Chaparral. We also I can personally see, and it's been discussed, that the bigger concern has been marijuana itself, cannabis itself. And as stated in the last meeting, we have come to this conclusion that cannabis is here. It is law, and it is going to be an option, and it's already happening here in Chaparral. Our job as a commission is to make sure that this is done responsibly, and it's in the best interest of that community. These are legitimate concerns, what we heard, and we're really just trying to find the absolute best solution for all parties involved, and that does include full respect to Mr. Cervantes as well. I completely, and I can even, understand the concern with small children. I have 2 small children of my own, and these are conversations that I have to have with them as well. I have one about to start middle school, and cannabis is just one of the many concerns. But I do feel this is my job as a parent to have that and to have those kind of conversations with them, and in their upbringing. I just want to further reiterate, I do understand everybody's concern, but we must decide accordingly on the future of this special use permit. With that, I yield to the commission, Mr. Chair.
Anything else? Ready for a motion? I'll make. Yes, sir. Based on the findings of staff, the analysis and the comments of all of the people here, I'm going to move conditional approval of case SU 22-001 to operate the cannabis microbusiness establishment for the cultivation of cannabis, with the conditions being that any existing structures and new construction proposed to be used for the cannabis establishment will be required to meet all applicable construction, fire, and safety codes, that indoor growing of cannabis shall be limited to 200 plants in 2 Connex boxes, and transportation and shipping of the cannabis products shall be by employees in their private non-commercial vehicles and limited to the hours Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? I guess I certainly appreciate the public input that we've had on this case, both before and now. I don't believe it's the responsibility of this board to rule
you know, how do I want to put it, to rule against what's already in the state law and the state statutes. The laws are out there, and it's, I guess, for us to interpret it. And I just, I think there's, excuse me, Sean, how many cases have we gotten requests for cannabis licensing in the Chaparral area?
I will need to swear you in.
Yes, ma'am.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Sean Vick, 845 North Motel Boulevard.
Do you affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner.
We had talked a couple of weeks ago,
Yes,
and I
sir,
knew
that
there
is
were quite a number. I'm wondering if that's changed any.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Sorry
Mike.
about that. The last time Albert and I spoke, I believe there was about 30 requests through the Cannabis Control Division for grow facilities, retail facilities, and such. Some are approved, some have not been approved, and so we're constantly looking on the website regarding that. Right now, the one outdoor grow that Mr. Cervantes is submitting, I did go do a site visit next to the grocery store for the retail that was approved last time. I know there's one on the County Line Road that I have a building permit for at this time for an interior remodel for a dispensary. The one next to the grocery store in McCombs, they're growing in Otero County, bringing their product over. Quite a bit. That seems like what I do quite a bit lately is speak to everyone on outdoor grows, indoor grows. To give you an accurate number, I could not do that at this time, sir.
Are a lot of, excuse me, are a lot of these cases being considered and approved by right, which is under the statute?
Yes, sir.
Because we're not seeing them, so.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
A lot of them, the zoning does allow for outdoor grows or the facility. We did do a while back the micro business for the very first one we had, which was in Doñana, in a residential neighborhood. That was limited, I think, to 40 plants, if I'm not mistaken. But most of them are by right. And a lot of them just get their license through the Cannabis Control Division. It is by right through planning and zoning, and so they get a business license, or some don't, and you're seeing them all over the valley.
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
You good?
Yeah, I'm done. I can't talk anymore.
No, ma'am. The role of the planning commission is to look at time, place, and manner. We cannot decide on the legality of cannabis use. That's already been decided by the state legislature. And we're also limited in our decision by the decision criteria that's set out in the Unified Development Code and that appears in the case information. It's community opposition is one factor and one factor only, and we have to weigh that against the other decision criteria. So I also appreciate the comments from the community. In particular, I want to recognize the two young men that came before us. I think it's very unusual, and it's very brave of them to step in front of a group of people in these chambers. It's never, as far as I know, I got to think about this for a minute. In the 40 years that I've been working in planning, I've never had that happen. Congratulations to you two. If there's no other discussion, we can call for the question.
Commissioner Zarges,
Yes.
Commissioner Castañeda,
Yes.
Commissioner Montañez,
Yes.
Chair Zerniak.
Yes. Special use permit is approved. Thank you very much. We've canceled this, or postponed the second case. Administrative approvals, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Welcome, Commissioner Castañeda. We're glad to have you here. And really, all I want to report.
Wait just a second.
Can I also ask that you pull the mic
Yeah,
down?
ladies and gentlemen, could you take your conversation outside? Thank you. We still have some business to take care of. It's all right. Okay.
Okay, so the map before you are the building permits that we issued for the month of April, and there were 16 single-family residential new construction. In addition to what is not mapped are 23 additions to single-family residential. And we also did 5 addition to commercial properties, no new construction, just additions. So for the month of April, our grand total permit fees were $115,000.
No mobile home permits?
Oh, yes. There we go. 17 mobile home permits on private
I was
property.
going to say, that would have been a first.
Yes, all righty, thank you. Any further questions? All right, thank you.
So Arnie, they always give us this information to let us know what
Yes.
activity's going on.
Right.
Any other business? Staff input? Janine, is there anything else?
No, Mr. Chair, but for the record, barbed wire and razor wire is not permitted next to our residential use, so
Okay.
just so you
Oh,
know.
that's good to know. Thank you. Steve, you got anything else? Okay. I think we stand adjourned.
All right, thank you.
Stand adjourned. Yeah.